Merhabalar herkese. Hepiniz IEFTalks Webinarları'na hoş geldiniz. Bugün dünyanın en iyi ilk 80'de yer alan Hollanda Üniversitelerinden University of Groningen'de eğitimi Martin'den dinliyor olacağız. Lütfen sorularınızı soru cevap bölümünden yönlendirmeyi unutmayın. Yes, Martin, the stage is yours now.
Okay, thank you. Welcome everybody to my webinar about the University of Groningen. As you can see, this is our academy building or part of our academy building. I will continue telling a bit more about this later. My name is Maarten Dikhoff. I'm the International Communication Coordinator of the University of Groningen. And if you have any questions about the webinar later, at the end of this presentation, I will post some email addresses and some contact details. You can always send us an email if you have questions. There's also a possibility to ask questions in the chat. At the end of the presentation, I will also answer those questions. For now, I will just start the presentation. It will take about half an hour, and then we have about 15 minutes to answer questions. So there will be a lot of information. I will go through the slides quickly. Hopefully something of that will stick. And again, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat. So we are an old university. We are the second oldest in the Netherlands, founded in 1614. We are research universities. There's two types of universities in the Netherlands: universities of applied science and research universities. And we are ranked number 69 worldwide in the ranking of world universities in 2024, which makes us a top 100 university. The quality of our education and based on the rankings, we are similar to some of the Ivy League universities in the US. We are also number 80 in the World University Rankings of 2025, and we have about 38,000 students. We also have a lot of international students from over 120 different countries. 28% of our students are international, and we have over 180 degree programs taught in English. We won some Nobel Prizes. The last one we won in 2016, and we have 11 faculties and 10 graduate schools. What we will cover today is a bit about admission and registration, about student life, about housing, about moving to the UG, and some visa information, and some nice to know. And then at the end of the presentation, there will be time for some questions. About the admission, if you have any questions, if you already applied, or if you need information about the admission and registration, you can go to our website, rug.nl/SIA, which is our student information and administration desk. There's also an application guide that can be useful, which is a step-by-step guide to apply to our university. And if you already applied and you have questions about the status of your admission, I can't answer that in this webinar because I don't have access to the systems, but you can send an email to study@rug.nl. Please note that it is Easter at the moment, so the university is closed today and Monday, but from Tuesday we will be open again. So any questions you have about admission, you can find on these websites and send an email to study@rug.nl. Some very important deadlines. If you want to apply next year for a numerous fixes program, which is a program with limited seats, you always have to apply before the 15th of January. So that deadline for this year has already passed. The regular deadline for most programs, 80% of our programs are regular programs, so there's no numerous fixes on that, is the 1st of May. So there's still time to apply if you are interested in a program at our university. You can apply online before the 1st of May. Normally we say that you should apply as early as possible, but we are quite late in the season already. So it is still possible to apply before the 1st of May, but it will take a bit longer because the closer we get to the deadline, the more work our admissions office has. So it might take a bit longer before you know if you have been admitted. Some entry requirements. The Turkish high school students are not directly admissible to our university at the moment. We are starting talks with our admission office to see what we can change about that, because there are some diplomas that are accepted by other universities and not by us. But so by the time, maybe hopefully next year when you apply for 2026, there might be some changes there. So keep an eye on our website. But at the moment, high school diplomas are, Turkish high school diplomas are not directly admissible. For master admission, you have to have a bachelor from a university. And also please note that you have to have a closely related bachelor. So for example, our marketing program is in our Faculty of Economics and Business, which makes it a business program. To enter our master program, therefore, you need to have a business bachelor degree. If you have, for example, a psychology bachelor degree and you want to do marketing at our Faculty of Economics and Business, that's not directly possible, but then you would have to do a pre-master, which is a year extra of doing courses, and then you can start in that master. But so yeah, please be aware if you want to, for example, apply for a master's in computing science, you have to have a bachelor's in a similar closely related subject. So computing science or AI or data science, that kind of stuff. And of course, there's also a requirement for English test. Either an IELTS or a TOEFL or a Cambridge test is needed to get into our university. For PhDs, if there are any joining this webinar, basically there are two ways to get a PhD. One way is to look at our Work With Us page, where we have vacancies for open PhD positions. The other way is to write a research proposal and send that into our graduate schools and get in touch with a professor and then see if you can get a research position that way. So those are the two ways to get a PhD position at our university. And of course, all the information I'm talking about now is all available on our website. If you can't find it, then please contact us through perspectives@rug.nl. It's not necessary to learn Dutch. English is spoken in a very high degree in the Netherlands. We are the #1 non-native English-speaking country in the world, so everybody basically speaks English. However, there are lessons for international students who start at our university. There's 100 hours of free Dutch lessons. There's also online, massive online courses, Introduction to Dutch. We do recommend that you try to learn Dutch, of course. Also, if you want to, after your studies, stay in the Netherlands, it's useful to know Dutch. But for the course or for the program itself, to study in English, all the program is completely in English, so there's no Dutch needed for that specific program. Basically, if you want to apply to the university, you apply in studielink.nl, which is the centralized application system. This is the website that gives entrance to all the universities in the Netherlands. So everything starts from there. So if you want to apply before the 1st of May, you go to studielink.nl. And then after that, after you have applied, the university will get in touch with you and will ask you for some paperwork and some visa stuff if it's needed. So we will get in touch with you after you have applied in StudiLink, but it starts at studielink.nl. Like I said, there are selective and non-selective programs. The selective programs are not really relevant at this point anymore because the deadline has already passed. But for the non-selective programs, you can still apply before the 1st of May. Some things to look out for. So the courses are not selective, and it's relatively easy to get into our university if you compare it, for example, to English universities or US universities. However, we do have a thing called the BSA, the Binding Study Advice, which I will talk about a little later. But where at the other universities in England, for example, they screen their students at the gate, we basically allow everybody to start their studies. And in the first year, you have to show us that you can study at our level. So, and this is the case for bachelor students. So in the first year, you have to get 45 or 75% of your credits to stay in the program. This does not count for master students, but for bachelor students. Yeah, the closer you get to the 1st of May, the longer it might take. So at this point in time, it might take 6 to 8 weeks before you get your results if you apply. After applying, the admissions office will get in touch with you. They will ask for an English language certificate. They will ask you to send in certified copies of your academic results. That you can also do that digitally. And in the case of a master's, they will also ask for course subscriptions. And with the visa application process, the ISD, the Immigration Service Desk, will also contact you, and they will ask you to transfer some funds to a bank account in the Netherlands so that they can apply for the visa. And the reason they do this is that you have to show that you have enough financial means to stay in the country before they can give you the visa. And then once you arrive in the Netherlands, the money will be transferred back to you and you can start your studies. The costs of the program, if you have an EU nationality, so for example, if you have a German passport, you can apply with the German passport because the tuition fees for EU students are lower than for non-EU students. So the tuition fees are 2,600 euros for the bachelor programs. And for non-EU bachelor tuition fees are around 13,000 to 19,000 euros per year. And our bachelors are 3 years. And for the master's program, the costs are about 19,000 to 32,000. 32,000 is in the case of our medicine masters, but the rest is around 24 or 19,000. And then you have cost of living, approximately 11,000 euros per year. There's also no significant scholarships available in the Netherlands. We do have the Study in NL scholarship, which is a one-time lump sum of 5,000 euros, but we don't have full scholarships. So it might be that, for example, the Turkish government has some scholarships to study abroad, so you might want to research that as well. But please be aware that there is no full scholarships available in the Netherlands. And of that living cost, about 11,000 a year, rent is the biggest expense. So a typical student room is around 450 euros per month. That's warm, so that's including electricity bills and gas bills and water bills. And then, of course, you have to eat. You have to get an insurance, health insurance, and those kinds of things. So the living cost is about 11,000 a year. And also what is a big difference with other countries is that eating out in the Netherlands is relatively expensive. So a lot of students save money by cooking for themselves because our supermarkets are relatively cheap. Eating out is relatively expensive. So a lot of students know how to cook. And so if you get to the Netherlands and you can't cook already, you might want to learn. How is it different from studying elsewhere? Well, like I said before, it's intense. It's normal to fail an exam. There's, of course, resits, and there's also study advisors to help you with your studies. And like I said, bachelor students in the first year must pass 3/4 of the first year credits. And the passing rate of an exam is typically 55%. What is good to know, though, is that our exams are not at the end of the year, but the year is divided in 4 blocks, where in 2 semesters, and each semester is divided in 2 blocks. So every 7 weeks you have classes, and then after those 7 weeks you have 2 weeks where you do exams about those classes. So the reason why we do this is that we can see very early in the year, if the year starts in September, the first exams will be around the end of November. So by the 1st of December, we can already see which students are doing well and which students are struggling. And the students that are struggling, we have a support system for them through our study advisors or through extra classes to help you get up to speed with your courses. So it is intense and to study with us, but there's also a good support system to help you succeed. But please be aware that it's yeah, we're a top 100 university, so the quality of education is high. So we also expect our students to be good studying students. And there's also what might be different from what you are used to is that there's a lot of emphasis on participation in the classes. So our professors like to have discussions with the students. It's okay to have discussions with the professor. It's not like he says and you listen. It's more like they're encouraging debates about different subjects, which is something that I personally really like because you are treating each other as equals. So here's some more information about the binding study advice. Like I said, you have to get 45 out of 60 credits. If you study, and this is only for the bachelor students, so if you study at the UCG or at the university college, in that first year, you need to get all your credits. If you fail to get those 45 credits, then basically you get a binding study advice that says that you can't continue this study, and then you have to basically you're kicked out of the study, and you can't study that specific program for 3 years. So you have to find another program to study. But this is only for the bachelor students. This doesn't count for the master students. And speaking about bachelors and masters, I just noticed right before I started the webinar that I hadn't included our slides with the programs that we offer. But basically, we are a very broad university. So we have 11 faculties, and we offer programs in psychology, in economics, in arts, history, also all the sciences, so mathematics, physics, chemistry, artificial intelligence, computing science. We have law programs, we have spatial sciences, we have religion and society programs, and we have a campus in Leeuwarden, which is a city close to our city, where you can do voice technology and other programs, and we also have philosophy programs. So we have basically we have everything except architecture and aeronautical or veterinary sciences. But yeah, if you have any specific questions about the program, I can tell you if we have it or not. So to continue on how it's different from studying elsewhere, like I said, the professors are treating their students as equals. So they listen to you, they care about your success, and the emphasis is on participation in classes. So it is normal to have a discussion with your professor or to disagree about certain things, which is something that is very Dutch. And of course, we have bicycles. The cities are a lot smaller than the big cities in Turkey. Groningen is a city of 200,000 citizens. 50,000 of them are students, so we're the youngest city in the Netherlands. The average age is about 35 years old. And you can get anywhere within the city within 20 minutes by bicycle because the city center has been closed off for cars. So the cars have to go around the city center, and with a bicycle you can go through it, which results in very fast times to get somewhere. And basically, if you cycle for 20 minutes, you can get anywhere in the city. Now, the accommodation part of this presentation, basically, all the Dutch student cities have an issue with housing for students, also Dutch students. That's because the universities don't have housing. We don't own housing ourselves because it's well, it's not allowed by law. So the housing is either in some foundations, which I will talk about later, but also there's a big private market of people who rent out rooms to students. However, each year when the year starts, there's a lot of students coming into the city who are looking for housing. So that is that will be the most stressful part of moving to a Dutch university, is finding housing in that city. It is not impossible, but it will give you some stress because you are probably still in Turkey when you are looking for housing. So you have to do it online. yeah, so basically I want to warn you that the housing will be the biggest issue that you will face when you move to Groningen. And yeah, there are some students. Back a couple of years ago, it was worse than it is now. We built some extra units on our Zernike campus to facilitate students, but still it won't be easy. So please be aware of that. Also, if the general rule is that if you don't have a room by the 1st of August, then you should really consider if you still want to come to Groningen, because if you do, you will probably end up have to live in a hostel for a couple of months or in a hotel, which of course is a lot more expensive than renting a room. So please be aware of that. So if you get accepted at the university, make sure that you book housing as soon as possible. So as soon as you know that you have been accepted, you want to start looking online for housing. And the way you do that, the first way to do that is go through the SSH, which is a foundation that houses students for the first year. The registrations for that are now open, and later this month they will also start putting the rooms online. However, because this is such a popular way of getting rooms, once the rooms get online, they are typically gone within half a day. So if you miss that way of getting housing, there are other alternative options by looking at homeingroningen.com, which is a portal that gives links to all kinds of housing corporations or the private market. And then there are also some big parties like sugarhomesgroningen.com, which also offer housing for students, although they are typically a bit more expensive than the typical student room. And then, of course, there's the private market. So what I always recommend is once you know that you want to come, also start looking online for networks of students that might help you with finding rooms. Most of the study programs have study societies that have members of the program which are sort of like student societies. So you can also contact them. So you really have to start building your network. And I also recommend that you come already in August, because the year starts in September. And in August, then you can really start to get to know the city. Plus, it's a very fun month where there are many festivals, and also the introduction weeks of the universities take place in August. So if you can, try to be in Groningen by August 1st. And of course, as always, on the internet, make sure that you are not scammed online, because of course there are always scammers online. And so don't make a deposit if you haven't seen the house, or transfer money to somebody you don't know. Always ask if it's possible to do a viewing, even though if you are in Turkey, because if they if they don't want to do a viewing, then typically there's something fishy about that. So yeah, so make sure you don't get scammed online. And then there's also, like I said, a faculty in the city of Leeuwarden. Housing in that city is typically not so difficult to find as in Groningen. So if you can't find anything in Groningen, it might also be an option to look in Leeuwarden for housing. And because the train to Groningen is only 35 minutes, and then for that initial startup stage of your studies, you can also live in Groningen or in Leeuwarden and take the train. And then later on move to Groningen when the market has settled down a bit. So that's also a tip. Or there are other cities around Groningen that is also very good, very well reachable by train. Assen is one of the others. But of course, if you, yeah, the best would be to live in Groningen. Also, there are we have a lot of support during your studies. We have welcoming events. We have the Student Services Center where you can go if you have any mental issues. We have in-house psychologists that can help our students. We have the Information Service Desk, which is a service desk for international students. We have study advisors. So if you are failing, if you are dragging behind in your credits, the study advisors will contact you and have talks with you on and make plans on how to improve your studies. And there's also mentors, which are second year or third year students who help first year students with their studies. And after your studies, there's also career services that will help you prepare yourself for finding a job. What is also good to know is that students who have graduated after they receive their diploma, the study visa will be extended for an extra year, which means that you have a year to find a job in either the Netherlands or in Europe, in the Schengen area. So basically, it gives you another year to find a job, which I think is a very good thing. With regards to visa and traveling, so once you apply, our immigration service desk will help you with all the visa preparations. They will contact you, or if you want to know more information, you can find it on rug.nl/ISD. There's also videos available on the ISD page with step-by-step instructions. And also, if you want to call them, you can reach them in office hours from Monday till Friday between 10 and 1. Or 10 until noon, and then from 1 until 4. Or you can fill out an online form. Also important to know that if you apply, make sure that you have paid your tuition fee before the 31st of August, because the year formally starts on the 1st of September. Any tuition fees that have not been paid before that date will result in that you are not registered at our university. So it's very important that you pay your tuition fee before the 31st of August. You can indicate the method of payment in StudyLink, which is the online platform that you apply in. You can also do it in 5 staggered payments, which basically spreads the amount out over the year. You can pay by a debit card or by credit card or cash. And if you do that, you have to come to the Academy building in the city center of Groningen. And for some students with an EU nationality, it's also possible to you might get a tuition fee loan, which covers your tuition fees, your EU tuition fees, and then after your studies, you are required to pay those back, but it might help you at the start of your studies. And like I said, with regards to transportation, you will also need to learn how to bicycle or cycle. 75% of all journeys in our city are made by bicycle. So basically, when you arrive and you want to cross the street, the first thing you have to learn is to look out for bikes, not cars. And you can buy a second-hand bike typically for around €100. But there's also, for students that only stay a year in Groningen, there's a company called Swapfiets or Swap Bike, and they offer sort of like a membership on bicycle use. So you pay, I think, €17 per month, and then you can use a bicycle of them. And then when you have like a flat tire, you can just change the bicycle. You get a new one. It's like a membership on a bicycle, which is might be an option for some students. And always lock your bicycle, basically. So when you put it somewhere, make sure it's attached to a tree or to a lamppost, so that people just can't take it away and then open it up somewhere else. We are reaching the end of my story here. It's also almost 30 minutes, so I hope this wasn't too much information, and I will have a look at the questions that there might be. Oh yeah, one more slide about if you are in the Netherlands or in Groningen, there is also some thrift shops where you can buy secondhand furniture. Of course, we have an IKEA, and there's also Marktplaats, which is sort of like the online eBay or Craigslist where Dutch people sell their stuff. So if you are looking for furniture, then you can find that there. And now I will go into the chat and see if there are any questions. Okay, some questions from Leila. What kind of career support does University of Groningen provide during the studies and after the graduation? Like I said, Leila, there's career services. They help you with, for example, practicing for job interviews. They can have a look at your resume. They do in-house, they do trainings for students to practice their employment skills. And also typically your study program typically has a student society, which also organizes all kinds of networking parties and those kinds of things. The university, for most programs, we do not have active connections with companies that we can make sure that our students immediately can start at the company. However, we do have a lot of facilities to help you expand your network. So that's basically the career support that we have. Then another question, is there an international student society at the university that we can be a part of? There are many. There might even be a Turkish student society. I wouldn't be surprised, but in any case, there's ESN, which is the Erasmus Student Network, and they have the biggest chapter in Groningen. It's an international student society that is specifically for international students. I highly recommend that you also become a member of them, because it's a great way to get an international network, which will last beyond your studies. So that's also good for career prospects. They also have an introduction week, usually in August. So if you want to become part of an international student society, have a look at ESN Groningen. That's E from Echo, S from Sierra, and then N from November. ESN Groningen. Look it up online and you can find more information. What are the best and worst things about uni, in your opinion? Well, the best things is the quality of education, of course, and the many programs that we have. It's a very small city, but not too small. For example, we are the only city that doesn't have closing times for our bars. So basically, you can go out for 24 hours. And that also that might sound weird, but it's also makes it sort of safe, because there's always people in the streets also at night. So it's actually quite a safe city in that sense. The worst things, like I said, is finding housing, which is something that we as a university can't do everything about, but we try. But yeah, so finding housing is one of the worst things. And of course, with all big organizations, governmental organizations, there's a certain amount of bureaucracy. Also with the admissions process, that would be something that might be either confusing or annoying. But yeah, so that would be the worst things if you ask about the university. Most interesting from Pera or unique about your program? Well, like I said, I think we are the only city in the Netherlands that has we are a typical student city. I think we are the student city of the Netherlands. So because we have so many students in the city, the average age is very young. So, and there's also a lot of festivals organized that are free and that are good for students. So in the summertime, every weekend there's something going on. Which is nice about the vibe of the University of Groningen. Even kijken hoor. How do you select applicants? What aspects do you look in an application? Pera, like I said, we do not really have selection processes. We just look at your diploma. If it's admissible, we look at your English test, and you have to send in your passport. Basically, those are the requirements. For some studies, there is some additional requirements needed. For example, if you want to study mathematics, you have to have mathematics in your diploma. For biology, you have to have mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology in your diploma. So those are quite some demands they have there. So, but for most programs, like for example, psychology, if you have a diploma that is admissible and you have an English test, then you are admitted to the program. This counts for most of the programs that we have. So that's the way we select applicants. So it's different from what you are used to in the UK or in the US, for example. What percentage of students graduate in 4 years or less? I don't know the exact numbers. No, I can't give you really a percentage. All I do know is that it's in the interest of the university to have our students graduate as within the time frame of 4 years. Because the longer it takes, the more, well, basically, the more it will cost the university and the students. So we are all very focused on making sure that our students graduate in 4 years. Of course, not everybody does. If you send me an email at perspectives@rug.nl with this question, I can try to find out more. But at this point, I can't really give you a percentage. Biology in Groningen, you take IB, which is good. Chemistry, biology. You don't take physics. Some other universities require an additional exam. Will I need it for Groningen as well? Yes. So for the biology program, it's one of the with regards to requirements, it's one of the hardest programs to get into. So you will need chemistry, physics, biology, and mathematics. If you do not have physics, you have to do an extra exam. This is possible. You can do it in Utrecht at the Boswell Institute. There's also information about this on their website. And if you can't find it, please, Serafima, send me an email at perspectives@rug.nl. I can send you the link with all the requirements and where you can do that. Scholarship programs for international students that I can apply with my SAT or IELTS score. There is not. There are some scholarship programs. You can have a look at grantfinder.nl. There you can find scholarships, but like I said in the presentation, there's no full scholarships available in the Netherlands. So that is, yeah, there are some partial scholarships that you can apply to, but there are no full scholarships. Serhat, are there any English programs in medicine? Not anymore at our university. Our medicine programs have switched to Dutch, so it's not possible to study medicine in English at our university. However, I think it's still possible at the University of Maastricht, but not at our university. So for our university, you need to know or learn Dutch before you can start medicine. As soon usual graduation date is June, July, whereas your application deadline is May 1st. Is it possible to apply in advance and receive conditional approval and then submit high school diploma afterwards? Otherwise, what do you recommend in order not to lose the first 1 year? It depends. Yeah, good question. Basically, the answer is yes. You can apply before you have your results of your diploma. However, it does depend on when you get your final results. Because I think there is, if you apply in May, I think the final deadline to get all your paperwork sent in is the 1st of July. However, that also might depend on the program and the faculty you are applying at. So this is something that you should ask the admissions office or send an email to study@rug.nl and then ask this question and also the specific program you want to apply to Ersoon, and they will give you an answer. But yes, it is possible to apply before you have your final grades. Also, you can apply before you have the results of your English test. However, there is a deadline after the 1st of May where all the documents have to be sent in. And that depends a bit on the program you're applying for. So that's something that admissions office can explain. And then the same question or a question from Ersoon, application statistics for computer science. How many seats available for international students and how many total applications were there in total? There is no numerous fixes anymore on computer science, I think. So there basically, if you want to apply to computer science and you have a diploma that is admissible and an English test, then you are able to start computing science, basically. So that numerus fixus has been gone. And if you have any questions about that, please send me an email at perspectives@rug.nl, and I can put you forward to the Faculty of Science and Engineering. Engine, is there an admission requirement such as having at least a C grade or in A-level courses? No, and we don't look at the grades specifically. So basically, if you have your A levels, if you have your minimum A levels. So if you graduate with, out of the top of my head, I don't know exactly the entry requirements for A levels, but it's on our website. But it's regardless if it's a C or an A. Of course, it has to be a passing grade. But if you have only Cs and you still have your A levels, technically you are still admissible to our university. And then Ersun, you stated that Turkish high school diploma is not accepted at the moment. And this I'm not saying that it will change next year. We are in talks now with the admissions office to see if we can change the rules in such a way that Turkish students are admissible if they have a certain kind of diploma. So there are talks in that, but like I said, we are a very bureaucratic, slow organization in making decisions like that. So I'm not saying that it will change next year. But we are working on it and trying to make it so that this is different next year, but I can't promise anything in that. But if we change those rules, then it will cover for all programs. So then Turkish students will be allowed for all programs, except for, of course, if you want to apply for science and engineering program, it might still be that you have to have some sort of level of mathematics or mathematics and chemistry and physics and biology in the case of biology. So we are working on it, but I can't promise that it will be that Turkish students, high school students, will be admissible next year, but we are working on it. And then the last question, is there a criminology program available? There is, within the law faculty, there's a master's program available in the field of criminology. If you want more information, you can send me an email at perspectives@rug.nl, and I can put you forward to the website or to the law faculty, and they will contact you and give you the answers you need. That was the last question, Zeynep. How did I do? Oh, we're
Yes,
very
Martin, that was great. Thank you very much for the great presentation. And we had a lot of questions. You covered all of the questions as well. Thank you for your answers.
very good.
And also, I would like to thank the participants in Turkish as well. Katıldığınız için teşekkür ederiz arkadaşlar. Umarım sizin için de faydalı bir webinar olmuştur. University of Groningen ile ilgili diğer sorularınız için şu anda ekranda görmüş olduğunuz e-mail adresinden Martin'e her zaman ulaşabilirsiniz. Bir sonraki webinarlarımızda görüşmek üzere. Thank you very much again, Martin. It was a pleasure to have you in IEFT Talks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.